Welcome back to the Shankly Sessions, the weekly podcast we bring you about all things Liverpool FC. As always, joining me, my partner on this show, Dean. How we doing, my man?
Less than 7 hours now. Can't fucking, sorry for the language, I cannot. Like, I've never been as excited for a football match in my life. I cannot wait.
Chills at the moment. The thoughts of the band being back together. We've missed them for a whole year. You know what I mean? This is when Hogan turned heel and the NWO got together. The lads are back.
There's a rumour coming out. There's a rumour that, the way the teams don't come out together. There's a rumour that when Liverpool are coming out, it's the NWO music.
I hope so. That voodoo child would be class, wouldn't it?
Just imagine Virgil coming out with the belt, couldn't you?
Yeah, be class. I just can't wait to see all these guys on a pitch again and pulling the strings and just fighting hard for each other. And all. The only thing that disappoints me is Robbo won't be there. I would have loved Robbo to be there as well, But of course, Simicus would be great.
Yeah, but you can just imagine Robbo in the dressing room before it, going around and. Yeah, you can. He definitely going to be in there roiling players up.
How many videos are we getting today from James Milner? I wonder. Good Lord.
he put one out this morning.
Yeah,
and it's like Arsenal are back. Ha ha ha. That's all you need in life. All you need in life is a James Milner.
Absolutely.
But it's gonna. I can't wait. I literally cannot wait. Get Leeds to stuff United now. That'll set up the perfect Saturday.
Yeah, I've tingles thinking about this because no one's talking about us. It's all about City and Chelsea and United. No one's talking about us. We're just going to slide in there under the radar, win a nice 6 or 7-0 win today, and it'll be all good. And then they'll know we're back. As always, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for all the video versions of the show. Obviously over on Spotify, Podbean or Apple iTunes for the audio versions of the show. And if you'd like to contact the show, we're on Facebook and Instagram, The Upper Tier, and we're on Twitter at Sessions Shankly. You'll get us over there. If you want to contact the show, if you want to come on, if you have an opinion, anything you want to do, if you want to fancy coming on for a chat about anything, whether you're old school or new school, it doesn't matter to us because we're a blend of both. Let's get into this. Let's start, as always, with the news coming out of Liverpool, of course. They've welcomed Unisport on as a new retail partner. Again, just business after business after business for this club, so it's great to see that coming into place. Local communities have been given a donation of these fabulous, big, huge Cadbury's bars that we've seen with the Liverpool logos and stuff on them. And they've created a competition, a bake-off challenge, which should be interesting. And you can now vote. Creations are up there from the different communities, and you can now vote for which one you think is the best. So just a little bit of fun to kick off the season, really, I would say on a side note, those branded Cadbury's bars look amazing, but your pricing is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're in where we live, me and the missus are.
Yeah.
We live above the centre there, and this is nothing against the centre because John that runs a sound guy, except for he's a Man United fan. But yeah, obviously Cadbury, they're not going to drop the prices, the Cadbury's prices, but the price of them is absolutely disgusting. Feels like in the world of all this madness around transfers, even Cadbury are jumping on the bandwagon. Somebody used to have me used to go into the shop with £1 and you'd get a bar, a drink, and a packet of crisps and fucks, and the rest in jellies.
And a ticket for the cinema.
And still have change.
That's my day now. I'm 10 years before you. There you go.
You're 15 years. Don't be lying. You're 15 years.
Shh, don't tell anyone. Shh. Liverpool coming out this week saying they're going to continue to take the knee for the 21-22 season. Happy enough with that. I mean, again, we've had, it's good that they're continuing the sport for all these different movements and stuff like that. But again, we have questioned in the past, is there something more we could be doing? And will this become stale? And a number of teams have stopped doing it. A number of teams have talking about applause. A number of teams have talking about other little things that they might try out and stuff and do. But Liverpool are going to continue on with the norm at the moment, which is taking the knee in support of, all these different projects.
Look, I agree with all aspects of this, Niall. We talked about this while the season was ongoing, and I don't think that racism will ever go away from football. you're always going to have a minority. I believe that until these social media places can sit down and verify accounts that you have to have a passport or something. Now, I know it seems far-fetched, but there is going to come a time where this racial abuse is going to push a big name player over the edge, and a note's going to be left that it was down to this. And look, whether a player stands in solidarity, and Ivan Toney last night, everyone knelt, the ref knelt, the fans applauded, Ivan Toney stood in solidarity. It's whatever the preference is to that player. They're not doing it out of disrespect. I just don't think this is ever going away. But one thing I do want to touch on, Niall, regarding this was the applause that Saka got last night when he came on for Arsenal. The whole stadium stood up and applauded him onto the pitch. He's only a kid, the backlash he got after missing that penalty was absolutely fucking disgusting. From a lot of people that jumped on the bandwagon because England made it to the final, and then to turn like that on young players, on anybody, and give them the abuse that they gave. It was brilliant. And Spurs fans as well last week, considering Spurs and Arsenal absolutely hate each other, it was outstanding to see. And it puts this minority back into a box, because they're rats at the end of the day. That's all they are.
And these are the things I love to see happening. These are the things that really push the momentum on. It's the likes of taking the knee, I think, at times. Sometimes, if it's just accepted as a given thing all the time, it kind of might become like a token gesture. Except when you see rival fans putting out banners of support and, clapping players on and all that sort of stuff, that to me means so much more in terms of a wave that as a football community and as a fan base, we all come together. Yes, we have our rivalries. We all follow our own clubs, but we can always come together to see that if someone is being abused or this kind of thing is happening, we all come together to say this is not right. This is how it should be in sportsman-like fashion and stuff like that. And it was brilliant to see those Spurs fans and again those Brentford fans last night. No, it was absolutely exceptional.
It's just like, because the fans have been out of the grounds for so long, I just think everything is just, everything is a lot more special now. The fans are back. Everybody's got together. You know what I mean? Like, to see Spurs fans applauding an Arsenal player now, that blew my mind. The hatred they have for each other, you know what I mean? And for them to stand up and applaud him, regardless of his age, but the fact that he's only a young kid, and the pressure that he took after that penalty miss, everything is just, it's just, that's why everybody's excited. And to see that it's just exposed 100 times more that football is back, it's just unbelievable feeling.
Yeah, well, I think the one good thing I would say that has come out of COVID in the last 18 months of the pandemic is that we no longer take for granted stuff that's really important to us, and we cherish it, that it's special and stuff like that. And obviously, being a football fan and being able to go and see your team, we speak about it all the time when we go to Anfield. It's the greatest feeling in the world, the absolute greatest feeling in the world, and something we will never take for granted again. So it's great to see it, but it's great to see that the fans are in unity on these things, and that the rivalry between the clubs doesn't overshadow the purpose of what's going on off the pitch, how these kids and players are being abused, and that all needs to be put to bed. So it was absolutely fantastic. Let's move on. Liverpool signed a big deal with Sonos there the other day as their official sound partner. So again, lots of real good work going on off the pitch as well in terms of business agreements and partnerships and stuff like that. So absolutely fantastic to see it. Continuing on that good work off the pitch and developing the business. Let's move on to Player Watch. Of course, we're hearing nothing but good stuff coming out here from every single player. Everyone seems pumped for the season. Everyone seems happy. Everyone seems to have had a great pre-season. As we said at the top of the show, the band are back together. Everyone seems very happy. Let's start off. Sadio Mane feeling great. Can't wait for the season to start. I don't think I've seen Sadio Mane as happy as I have in the last 2 to 3 weeks in pre-season. He's just been electric.
Yeah, I've talked about him a lot since the turn of the year. It was when he came out and started talking about the mental health and getting his checks and stuff like that, and he wasn't feeling great mentally or physically. And when Sadio Mane comes out and tells you he's feeling great, he's feeling great. It's not just for the cameras or It's not just here to say when he comes out, that big happy head on him and tells you he's feeling great. I said as well when the season finished that we believe everybody in the Liverpool team is going to be reinvigorated, that there's going to be a new fire lit under the bellies of everyone. And I'm still seeing people talking about Mo Salah is not as good as he's made out to be, and that Bobby Firmino's a has-been, you know. And I'm telling you now, the Liverpool front four of Jota, Firmino, Mane and Mo Salah are going to blow people's minds this season. Bobby Firmino and Sadio Mane, if last season was a bad season by their accounts and by other teams' fans' accounts, they're going to be put back in their box fairly rapid this season. And Jota, you know what he can do. Like, you look at his goals per game last year, out for a prolonged period with an injury. I tell you, there's something coming this season from Liverpool. I've been very disappointed, and I've been a bit critical regarding incomings. And I was listening to Jurgen Klopp yesterday talking about, and I know Ian thinks that he's being bitter. He's not being bitter. He's just saying it as it is. You know, he can't go out and spend the money that the three set teams are spending. So he's not going to not say that. He's always been vocal about it without throwing the owners under the bus. But what he said about being the best team in the league for the first 16 games last season and then getting those injuries. And for me, Thiago's coming in as a new signing, you know, with the fans there, Gomez coming back, Van Dijk coming back, then lads signing new contracts. It's like a fresh start again. Yeah. And, you know, I'm really, really excited to see what Sadio Mane does this season. I have a feeling that something special is coming from those boys up top.
Yeah, absolutely. Curtis, unfortunately, out with a concussion.
Yeah, it looked a bit nasty, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's just a little bit disappointing because he's another lad who's had a real good pre-season and probably would have been in the shake-up for the Norwich game, you know. But pity that he's out. But as always, when any of these head injuries, it's always good to take precaution over anything else, you know. Wouldn't like to see that happen to young lads, you know. Yeah. Unfortunately, Robbo out, I think, for the first 4 games at least with ligament damage. But the good news coming out of it is he's not going to need any surgery. Said he's already started his rehabilitation and he's dying to get back in there. I think out of all the players today, and I know like we can go around the whole team and talk about it, but Robbo today to have been back on the pitch with Van Dijk, I think that would have been something kind of special because they're like that. It's nearly like that father and son relationship with them, isn't it? Kind of thing. So
he's like the father figure to Trent and Robert, but especially with Robert, you see all the videos that Milner does be posting. You see all the videos in the inside training videos and stuff like that. They've got a special bond. And the only good thing that comes out of this, Niall, is with Van Dijk being back. You know, I want to see that partnership built with Tsimikas. You know, I've been reading stories and I've been like following a lot of stuff online regarding the in-house stuff from Pep Linders and stuff like that. You know, everybody's taken to the kid. You know what I mean? And I'm just glad that we kept hold of this guy, and he's got a real opportunity. Now, we do know that when Robbo comes back that he's probably going to go straight back into the team, but stranger things have happened. You know, there was a time where Robbo was on the outskirts of the team, and Robbo came in and put in a shift, and he became the best left back in world football. So, you know, he's got a real opportunity. You know, if we hit the ground running today, probably get a win with a clean sheet, touch wood, fingers crossed. You know, going into next week, a full Anfield at home to Burnley, you know, you get that confidence going, you get that fire in the belly. I'm really excited for today, for everybody that's involved. And it is sad that there's players out injured, but the situation with Tsimikas is, I'm really happy and excited for.
Yeah, it's great the way they refer to him now as the Greek Scouser as well, don't they? And apparently he has a huge personality in training, which I was kind of shocked to hear. I wouldn't have thought looking at him, because I looked at him originally and he kind of looked a little bit timid and stuff like that. But apparently he's unbelievable. Yeah.
He comes across like Minamino. Like, you looked at the league title celebrations when Minamino kind of had to be dragged into the group, you know, like to enjoy yourself. And you're coming into a club like Liverpool, it is really, really hard to settle. But as you said, we're hearing all these stories about the big personality, and he loves the pranks and stuff like that. Yeah. There's no better place to build your personality than a Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Gomez coming out this week saying centre-back competition is good and healthy. That's refreshing to hear, isn't it? Normally when a new centre-back is brought in, the old centre-back is knocking on the gaffer's door going, what's the story, boss? What's happening here? Is it time to go? All this kind of stuff. But now these guys are well up for this competition, stuff like that. And if anything, that's what last year showed us.
Yeah, 100%. Like, Joe Gomez is only 24. You know, he's still only a kid. He's had 2 very bad injuries since he signed for Liverpool. And plus, Niall, he has the luxury of being the cover right back as well. So he knows that he just needs to keep working hard. Regardless of Konate coming in, he knows that Van Dijk isn't going to be 100% every week. So if he can just stay fit, stay in that mindset, you know, I'm more than happy if it's Joe Gomez and Matip, or if it's Joe Gomez and Konate, or if it's Konate and Van Dijk. With the 4 centre halves that we have, I'm more than happy whichever 2 are put into the starting lineup. But with Joe Gomez coming out and saying that, as you said, someone like Konate comes in, the manager thinks so highly of him, the money that was spent on him. Joe Gomez could easily turn around and said, look, I want to move away. There's opportunities there at clubs where I could go in and play every week. So for him to come out and say that, like, he's happy and healthy. Like, you look at his relationship with Van Dijk, they are literally like blood brothers. But the fact that he has the luxury of being cover right back as well now, because it looks like Nico Williams could be moved on. Just everybody, again, everybody's happy. Everybody's smiling, except for Laurie Iscarius, but however.
Konate coming out this week and kind of stating the obvious, playing at Anfield was amazing. But of course, we already know that, of course. But while he experiences a top European night there in the Champions League, if he thought like that game the other day against Osasuna was amazing.
He has me and you singing his name on the cup.
Yeah, absolutely. But great to hear that. I also looked at him playing in the Osasuna game, like he's so relaxed and so laid back, and he has such a range of passes. That ball that he played over the top.
He's the right side Van Dijk. I said this when we signed him. People are going to be very, very... Anyone that hasn't watched German football, this guy is as composed as you like. He's exactly like Virgil van Dijk, in my opinion. He's like a brick wall, but as you said, with the ball at his feet, he's a knife for a pass. He doesn't pull out tackles. This guy beside Van Dijk, you know, I don't see much getting through them.
He'd nearly give you a heart attack as a fan, wouldn't he, that he's so laid back at times, because you're thinking, Jesus, you know, but like a player runs in on him and he just turns the player and strolls off with the ball and just lays it off, and you're there going, you know, if you ever got caught once, like, it'd be dodgy. But like, he's just so laid back and so confident in his own footballing skills, you know, which is amazing for a centre back like that. So Virgil must be loving it as well, like to have his mirror image basically beside him as well.
100%.
It's going to be amazing. Diogo Jota, delighted to play at a near full Anfield. Here's another guy who's going to experience some amazing nights at Anfield over the next 9 months. He says, finally, I got to play in front of the Anfield crowd. I think it's going to be amazing for these guys. I think when we get a top team in the Champions League at Anfield on a Wednesday night under the lights, these guys are going to be blown away by the magic of that. And, you know, it's going to be exceptional. Again, he's another player this year who I'm expecting huge things from.
I said it a couple of weeks ago. I have a feeling this guy's going to score 25 goals or more in all competitions. You know, and we're looking at Firmino. Well, not necessarily us. Bobby's my favourite player. He always will be. People thought outside of Liverpool, talking about how Bobby was done and, you know, time to move him on. Bobby's shown in pre-season since he came back that, you know, he's up for the fight. And again, that's going to work one or two ways. He's going to stay in the team, you know, and it's going to mean that someone else is going to be left on the bench, or it's going to push Jota onto another level. And that's going to work, clockwork, you know, with the 4 boys.
Right.
I think everyone's going to be pushed to a different level this season. And, you know, I know I'm sticking my neck out a bit. I have a feeling that the front 4 for Liverpool, that 4 season that the boys played together when Salah scored the 44 goals in all season, in all competitions, I have a feeling that the front 4 are just going to run them up this year, regardless of who plays. And with fans back at Anfield, and you like, plus travelling Liverpool fans are never quiet either. You know, they go down and make a statement wherever they go. I swear to God, the hairs on me. I cannot wait now. I literally can't wait.
I think in Bobby's case as well, it's great when you see the banter coming out for a mock during pre-season who was playing in Bobby's position, and he was saying, "Bobby, be careful what you wish for and all." And he was winding Bobby up, going, "Are you watching these training sessions of pre-seasons and all?" You know. So it looks like potentially if we can keep that guy fit as well, we have an alternative to Bobby as well to raise the level of the competition there. You know.
That's one that's gone under the radar as well. Oxlade Chamberlain, because a lot of us thought that he was going to be moved on. Now, I know there's still 2 weeks left in the transfer window, but you know, we're only hearing good things about him as well. Pep Linders has been out. Klopp has said it himself. You know, everybody has stepped up this summer.
Yeah.
Taki Minamino, like, you know what I mean? He's really stepped up pre-season. You know, like these players are going to be like new signings. Like,
not to mention Naby Keita even. You know,
Naby, yeah. We went from we were signing Yuri Tillemans to let's hope that Naby can stay fit, and fingers crossed we haven't heard of a hair falling out of his head all pre-season, so just fingers crossed, because when Naby gets motoring, you know, when he gets a run of game, now we haven't seen it often, but Naby gets a run of games, he's a different animal in the middle of the park. You know, and just on those games that he does play, the comparisons to Iniesta, you know, you can see it. It's just we need to see it consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to transfers, of course, top of the list. Big Verge signing the 4-year deal, bringing him out to 2025. Absolutely massive statement by the club and by the player in terms of Project Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. 4 more years of Virgil and Robbo, 4 more years of Virgil and Konate, 4 more years of Virgil and Trent, 4 more years of Trent and Alisson, or Virgil and Alisson. Yeah, like, you know, I've been very, very vocal about me criticism about the re-signs, and it's only when I sit down with yourself, and you're, as we always say, like, you're the calmness, I'm the madness. You know, I'm very vocal, whereas you're kind of, you sit back and take a deep breath and you kind of put it into a business perspective, you know. And then when I was listening to Klopp yesterday, and he was talking about how, you know, certain players coming in with a full Anfield are going to be like a new signing, and, you know, these teams are spending big money. In my opinion, they're spending big money to catch up on the Liverpool that won the league, you know, because last season was a once-off, in my opinion, you know. And Man City, like, it wasn't for Liverpool, Man City would be going for 5 in a row this year. But Liverpool, that team from Liverpool, unlucky to lose the league by a point and then just blow Man City out of water the following year. Last season, you know, I do think we missed a trick on not bringing in players, but again, who's to foresee that you're going to lose like the backbone of your team through injury for the majority of the season? So, you know, these lads sign new contracts, as you said last week. They've sat down with the manager, they've sat down with the board, and, you know, they believe in the project going forward. You know, if they didn't, they wouldn't sign new contracts. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, very, very exciting to get these deals out, and I'll be even more excited during the week when the rumours of Hendo signing a new 3-year deal are true, and that Mo, regardless of how much money he's going to be given, for me, Mo Salah is the best player on the planet at the moment. The last 4 years have told true that with his stats, his goals per games, and, you know, the future is red, in my opinion. You've got Harvey Elliott coming through now. Curtis Jones is going to step up. You've got the likes of Owen Beck and Leighton Clarkson all coming through. Not for now, but, you know, there is some really, really good players coming through at Liverpool, and these guys, the said names that have signed new contracts, are going to be there for when these boys do come through. Yeah, and it's a blessing that in 4 or 5 years' time, you know, when the mantle's handed over, I'm extremely trustworthy and confident of what's going to be handed over to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly very exciting times in terms of that player profile and all. Liverpool moved into pole position to sign Renato Sanchez.
Yeah, I was reading a lot about this during the week because that kind of went off the radar, didn't it? You know, we talked about a lot through the Euros that he was going to be, that they was almost done, and it's just a name that just kept popping up. But this week, it's really kind of started to boil in the pot. Jurgen being vocal over the last year or so, he's brought him up a couple of times, talking about how highly he regards him and how good a player he is and all. And, you know, if you're going to lose Shaqiri, I think he's a more than adequate replacement because he can play out wide or he can play central. But you know, he didn't really have the best of time at Swansea. You know, there was a lot of pressure on the name at the time. It didn't work out. He went off to the Euros. He was one of Portugal's standout players, and you know the price tag isn't that overinflated either. So I'm excited if this deal happens. Then the name that I did keep mentioning was Saul, but you know if Renato Sanchez is the man that's coming in, I trust with Jurgen's selection 100%.
Yeah, certainly his forward attacking mindset from that midfield role would be brilliant for us in midfield, you know.
I definitely think that now with the boys coming back at the back and Fabinho going to be, like, fingers crossed, there's no more injury concerns at the back with Fabinho. I do think we can focus on attacking teams again, and that's what we missed out on last year because we hadn't got the backbone at the back to put our trust in going forward. So I think Jurgen's looking at, well, I've got the best centre half in the world back. I've got Fabinho in the top three in what he does, back sitting in the front of the defence. I've got Ibrahim and Kanate coming in, who's like a fucking brick wall. Then you've got Henderson, you know, hungry, coming back, really fresh. You know, we know what he can add to the team. And then you've got Thiago, you know what I mean? And then, as I said, we've so much trust in the back five again now that we can focus on going and attacking teams like we did for 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait.
Shaqiri to Leon. Terms agreed, 12 million. Looks like it's going to happen. Good bit of business for Leon. Not too bad a business for us. It's kind of sad to see him go because he's kind of like, he's endearing, really, isn't he? You can't but not like Shaqiri. Like, he's just that little sort of pit bull in there. He sometimes I look at him and I think of him as the guy who should have never made it in football, but against all the odds did it. And I kind of love him from that kind of point of view. You know, an absolute exceptional talent in the Swiss team. When he's in there, he's an absolute real leader. And I suppose looking back on his Liverpool career, we probably didn't get the best out of him, but we probably didn't give him as much opportunities as maybe he should have got.
It was unfortunate that the time when he came into the team, we the best attacking three in football. You know what I mean? It was just unfortunate that we were seeing, like, Salah was unfortunate that, you know, when we were talking about him for a Ballon d'Or, that Messi and Ronaldo were just picking them up like they were fucking coins dropped on the ground. You know what I mean? It is sad to see him go, but when I look back at the time in his Liverpool jersey, you know, that night against Barcelona, when nobody gave us a chance, including some of us, you know, when we looked at the team and it was Sadio, Shaqiri and Origi, and we were like, nah, not tonight. And the Shaqiri and Origi, like, pulled the fucking rabbit out of the hat with Gini Wijnaldum. The game against United, though, stands out for me, coming off the bench and scoring two crackers. That will always remain in my heart, you know. And as you said, most players that play for Liverpool, unless they just hate the club and just push themselves out, you know, we kind of just forget about them. But, you know, it's going to be really, really sad to see him go. But I do wish him the best in his journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about an inquiry that was made this week that came through. I know it's a very young, exciting prospect that I know you like a lot. Liverpool contacted Ren to make inquiries about Doku, who was this kind of a breakout star, really, in the Euros, really. But I don't think we had enough time to see him. But the time that we did see him, he looked outstanding.
Yeah, I've always kept an eye on this guy. You know, he was mentioned about signing for Liverpool 2 years ago. He's still only young, but when he was mentioned signing for Liverpool, like, I always check in on names that are mentioned with signing for the club, and you always look into what they're about and try and pick a game here, there, and everywhere when you can't see them. But he reminds me of a young Sadio Mane. He's got all of the attributes to be the next Sadio Mane, and I do think that's what Jurgen sees in him. I do see this guy being the potential replacement for Mane if he ever does leave. I can see this one happening, if not this summer, definitely next summer. I definitely can see this deal happening. Very exciting player. Thought he done really well at the Euros when he did get a game. I don't know about this one happening, Niall. Like, if we can get 3 players out, Origi, Shaqiri and Phillips, I can see Renato Sanchez and Doku coming in. Because this one, like we had been mentioned before, and James Pearce was talking about with that Jurgen not long ago was talking about, this guy reminds me of Sadio Mane, and the only thing about him is he doesn't really have his finishing wouldn't be great. But when Mane came into Liverpool, he was kind of in the same boat, you know what I mean? And Jurgen's taking him to the next level, and I think that's what Jurgen's looking at with Doku. I'd love this deal to happen, but if this deal doesn't happen this summer, I do see him signing for Liverpool in the future. And definitely one to keep an eye on for Liverpool fans. He's a very, very good player. I know you agree with me, but I think he'd be an outstanding signing for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think the thing that impressed me the most watching him was, that sort of that short burst power speed that he has over a short distance. But his ball control at his feet while doing it was very, very impressive. He was just able to leave defenders for dead. And I thought that was very impressive for a young kid as well. The energy that he brought, and he looked explosive. Reminded me of a very young Eden Hazard.
I'd love this to happen this summer now for the specific reason that we what we were just talking about there about having the back 5 settled now, having Fabinho back in front of the fence, having Henderson back, having Thiago there. It wouldn't hurt for him to come in now, and have that season to bed in with the team, to bed in with the squad, and play his part here, there, and everywhere. When we do have those games on a Sunday, and then you're playing a Champions League game on a Wednesday, where it's someone that you can turn to, because I'd be more than happy for this guy to be starting for Liverpool. You know what I mean? It's a fresh idea, and I was saying this to my dad last night. I'm happy with the business Liverpool do this summer, regardless of whether we sign anybody or not. But I just think now is the time that we need fresher faces than Shaqiri and Origi on the bench. So Renato Sanchez and Jeremy Doku are the 2 signings that we bring in. When you think about it, when the African Cup of Nations comes around, if you have Jota, Doku on the left, Renato Sanchez on the right, or you have Firmino through the middle again, what I mean? It's more exciting to me.
Harvey Elliott
as well, but that's more exciting to me than the drip drab that we have with Shaqiri, because unless Shaqiri is really, really focused and 100% and in the cause, you're not going to get the performance that you want. And then Origi, cult hero as he may be, it's time to move on. It's time for fresh ideas. It's time for teams to be not looking at the bench and saying, well, if he comes on, we know what to do with him. If he comes on, we know what to do with him. We need fresh faces and fresh ideas. So if Renato Sanchez and Jeremy Doku were the 2 faces that are coming in, I'd be fucking ecstatic going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, be huge. Let's round it out. Obviously, talk coming out this week, Bernardo Silva wants to move on from Man City. Outstanding player. But I think we had a little bit of a link to him. But I think in terms of our midfield, we're really looking for we're not only that, but we're really looking for someone that's not as much Biden midfield, but more of an attacking midfield to chip in with the goals and stuff like that. And I don't know whether he fits that profile or not. I think if we were looking at changing our midfield in any way, if it was coming from Man City, I'd be looking at someone like Gundogan or someone like that who's going to be more forward thinking in terms of attacking and has a finish on him. But definitely a player that would move into any midfield and greatly improve it in terms of his breakdown and stuff like that. Very much reminds me of Jorginho in terms of how he breaks up play and how he disperses it and stuff like that. But it was interesting to hear that he wanted to move out as well, you know what I mean? So it just goes to show you not everything is pretty up at Man City when we think it is,
Yeah, with Grealish coming in, it kind of just pushes him forward on the pecking order, and then you have Mahrez, and it looks like Sterling is going to stay now. So yeah, I think he's just looking for a little venture. For me personally, he's not the type of player that is going to take us to. He is a good player, but just the names you mentioned there, I just don't see him as taking us to another level, and I just don't see him fitting into. He is a quite an attack-minded player, but I just don't see him coming into Liverpool and making a place his own or anything like that.
Yeah.
And just the 2 names that I mentioned there, Doku and Sanchez, are the 2 names that I want. So just regarding the transfer, because I know we said we finish off with Bernardo Silva, but just regarding Nat Phillips, a couple of things rather popping up regarding him, Brighton and Southampton. Southampton desperately need a centre half. I think they'll move for Nat Phillips now. They're talking about 15 million, and they have a few bob out of selling Ings and Vestergaard. I think Nat Phillips would be ideal for them, Niall. I think he'd be absolutely ideal at the back. He's not on the same level as Vestergaard just yet, but you know, someone that's worthy and fighting for the cause and tackles with his head and stuff like that. I think he would be absolutely ideal for Southampton.
Yeah, he'd certainly be a player that Hasselhout would want as well, because he's in that kind of vein of a battler and stuff like that. And I think at a time where the transfer market is absolutely losing his mind in terms of value, at 15 million, he's an absolute steal.
Yeah, because when Leicester lost Fofana, first name that came to my mind to go in there and do a job for the year was Phillips. But obviously Rodgers has gone for a more established Premier League player. But the other one, Niall, breaking news, just while we were chatting there, the Liverpool Echo report, Liverpool are about to make a 120 million bid for Kylian Mbappe. Where did he get this stuff from?
I don't know. I think, does the Echo need to sell newspapers that bad?
The only thing I buy from the Echo is the football specials they do after we win a Premier League or a Champions League, but I think they're clutching at straws now trying to sell a paper.
I don't know. It'd be absolute. Can you imagine? It'd be absolute madness, wouldn't it? Can you imagine?
Someone has to go though.
Yeah, imagine though imagine if that did happen, and imagine you've John Henry there and LeBron James and Kylian Mbappe. We'd have to light up the cathedral, wouldn't we? Because we don't have an Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, unreal. Imagine that. Just all of a sudden, this big LFC Nike banner across the front of the cathedral. Night falls. And next of all, it's just like a load of lights and all. Now, like the fucking, remember before the wrestling years ago, where you'd have the lights just flashing on the Titantron, and the next of all, it just drops, and LeBron and Kylian Mbappe are standing there.
And of course, Jamie Webster on the corner blasting the tunes out. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the Kylian Mbappe song? Good Lord.
He's Mbappe. He's Mbappe.
Yeah, I think.
And a hat in front of people throwing coins into it.
Yeah, I think we'd lose our mind, wouldn't we? We'd definitely lose our mind if that happened, you know.
100%. No, before we go, predictions on this evening.
Do you know what? I'm not even talking in terms of a win. I think if these guys don't kick off their golden boot, I'm expecting goals from all over the park. I said it the other night on the preview with Craig as well. I think it's an opportunity for Salah and Mane to absolutely go ballistic in front of goal. I also think we could see an sneaky free kick from Trent, which I think would be absolutely glorious. And I wouldn't be surprised if Big Verge got his game off running with a big header from across or a set piece.
So what you're trying to say is about 9-0, yeah?
What I'm trying to say is I'd like to see us kick off our season with a big win against a team that's struggling at the moment. And I'd like to see us kick it off with goals from all around the park. That's what I want to see.
So 11-0 with the goalkeeper scoring again.
Jeez, can you imagine if we were 10-0 up and Allison went up for the final 2 minutes or something like that to get a goal?
And the lads celebrating like we just won 1-0 in the 98th minute or something. We're really rubbing it into Man City and Chelsea and all. Like,
do you know what I'd be intrigued about as well? I'm intrigued to see if Konate goes up for corners. That guy is a monster.
I'd be telling. Well, obviously Trent is going to be taking the corners. We'll just tell Samiskas here, you just stay in front of the box there. You just sit back there and just send the two of them up. How can you not have the two of them, two big colossus, not going up for corners? I have a feeling that, like, this is going to be a new dimension to our game as well. We're going to add a lot of goals from corners. Can
you imagine the fear in defences of one of those guys going front post and one of those guys going back post, splitting those defences with absolutely fear? Like
the only player who wouldn't fear those set pieces would be Nat Phillips.
And only if we're playing Southampton potentially. Well, anyway, Dean, it's been an absolute pleasure. This has been your Shankly Sessions, your look back at all things Liverpool this week. Obviously, Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for all the episodes, Anchor for all the audio versions of the show. At Session Shankly on Twitter if you want to contact us, and we will be back with you again next week with all things Liverpool. Cheers, bud.
Adios, amigo.